Are we teaching the truth in love?
Okay, so this past Sunday, I preached a sermon.
Well, do you want to introduce yourself? Because if we cut this pine tree.
Yes, my name is Jody Garner.
Yeah, they know you, yeah.
Christ.
Right.
I'm sitting here with
Lane Brown. I'm the preacher at the Chandler Street Church of Christ in Kilgore, Texas.
and we're doing a little second look at our sermons from this past weekend.
Taking a second look.
Watch the sermon that I preached.
I did. I watched your sermon, and let me tell you, I really enjoyed your opening. So the sermon is titled "People Problems," right?
Yeah, it's really part one. That's what I titled it.
People Problems Part 1. Okay,
Yeah.
So the sermon was titled Part 1. And,
Well, I didn't put that on the slide though. So go ahead.
Okay, well, what do you call this sermon?
On our podcast, I titled it "People Problems, Peacemakers."
Peacemakers. Very good. Okay, good. So, and your first question was fantastic, and I think you got everyone when you said, sit back and think about a peaceful situation. And every one of us, surely that's what we're thinking about. Like you said, mountainside, or mine was sitting at the beach. On our most recent trip to Mexico, we rented out this little private island thing for 6 hours. Incredible, peaceful, beautiful. But what's lacking in there, Jody?
People. When we think of peace, we eliminate people.
Yeah.
Why is that?
What's that?
Why do we do that?
Why do we do that? It started getting you thinking, what two things do we probably desire most in this world? Peace, right? And relationships, people. So it does make you wonder, why can these two not go together? And that's because obviously we have conflicts, right? And that's kind of what you talked about. Yeah,
we have conflicts. I will give a shout out to Dr. Alan Godwin, who wrote a book called People Problems. I mentioned that in the sermon, but that's I've been reading that for a while, and it's been influential on this sermon series. But I'm combining that with the book of Genesis, which I've been rereading through Genesis, and man, there are a lot of people problems and family problems.
Yeah, you said you could make a Jerry Springer episode out of it. So.
That's right. Like a whole season or two of Jerry Springer could be right. You really read in detail these stories from Genesis. But I honed in on Genesis 13, Abraham and Lot, because I thought that was actually a pretty good example of how to handle some conflict. And basically Abram said, look, he's naming the conflict for one. And then he says, we got a lot of space. Let's give each other space. Let's separate.
Right. Yeah.
He gives Lot the first choice. So Lot winds up moving towards Sodom and then in Sodom. So Lot's kind of got this self-centered, self-absorbed approach to it. But Abram, in verse 4 of chapter 13, he goes back to the altar he first built for Yahweh. And then at the end of chapter 13, he builds another altar, which I think shows his faith. So I think his faith influenced his conflict resolution.
Yeah. So the resolution that he had, right, was we need our space, we need to separate. So tell me, when is separation from people good, and when when can it be a hindrance to us?
Good question. So I think separating from people is good when you're basically just trying to one up each other, and you're just reacting to somebody else's reaction. So you're just reacting to each other's reactions. And, I'm sure that happens with siblings and in home life. And sometimes it's good to just say, let's take a little time apart, or maybe sleep on it, and then you can calm down and come back and talk about it. Now, I don't think separating just to avoid conflict or having a hard conversation is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But I think Abram does both. He's still Abram in this chapter. He has the hard conversation with Lot. I'm sure that wouldn't have been easy to say, like, hey, this isn't going well. But the solution is we need to give each other space.
So, I like what you're saying. And I do prepare and enrich for premarital couples, or sometimes even couples that are married and just struggling with the whole thing. One of the things that you always want to do is you never want to discuss things when you're angry. And so then those are good times to separate, but you don't need to separate and never deal with the issue or never deal with the conflict is what I was thinking. And I think you're right. That's what Abraham did. He went to Lot and he's like, look, this just isn't working between us and all of our people. It's getting too frustrating. How did you word it? You said, how could he be father of all nations or whatever?
Be a blessing to all nations.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is fighting with each other.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to be a blessing. Yeah. So and Abraham wasn't done with Lot either. I mean, they continued to have family relationship. It was just more of the way I see it is kind of like a boundary. Like this is, we put up fences and we still can interact with our neighbors, but it's kind of like, this is where my property is. And they just set up some healthier boundaries to avoid the conflict rising, the tensions rising, and then that would have probably inevitably got out of control. So they avoided that.
Yeah. So
peacemaker.
And then my question is, why do we have conflict over space and stuff like that? What is making this conflict in our life whenever when we're having issues with people?
I think the easy answer from this book, People Problems, Dr. Alan Godwin, is we're all imperfect. We all have flaws, and we desire relationships. But when you're around somebody enough, you're going to push somebody's buttons. They're going to push your buttons, and that's just how it is.
Okay.
Does that answer it?
Yeah, that's a good answer for him. One of the things I was thinking was, like with Abraham and Lot, maybe one of the issues was, and what we sometimes need our space because maybe we're not I think there's selfish desires in humans, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they're worried about they're not going to get theirs, and probably sometimes we just put less trust in God that God's going to take care of us, whether we're close together and having to share our resources or spread out. That's one of the things I thought whenever you were talking.
A little bit of selfishness and also self-preservation, like not trusting in God. So you're trying to protect your own life, which can lead to whatever resorts to violence, fighting, whatever, to protect yourself. Yeah. That's
well,
good.
I thought it was a great sermon. Good talk, especially when you're dealing with people and peace. It hits every one of us, right? We all desire relationship. We all desire peace, and too often we don't get exactly what we want, and so definitely stuff we need to hear.
I was going to do the sermon series, and then I wasn't because of COVID-19, stay at home. But then after about a month of being sheltered at home, I started thinking maybe this would be an appropriate time to talk about.
It was good.
So hopefully it was good timing and helps people out.
Yeah, it's interesting you were talking about siblings in it, but everything was pretty good.
Yeah, siblings come this coming weekend, Jacob and Esau.
Good.
It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
All right, very good.
For those two. All right. You want to shake hands or hug or anything?
Is this the way we go hands this time? Look at I'm coming from outer space.
I'm coming from office.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Nice
All right.
talk.
Good
see
talking.
you next week.
I need some water.
Yeah.
I'm thirsty.
All right. You have a good one. Bye.
You too. Wait, hold on. I just wanted to keep doing that.
Okay.
Are we teaching the truth in